about, I guess, what we see versus how you train, because you kind of said like they're not
Cool.
the same.
So back home, I was notoriously known for throwing the big overhand rights. I had a few knockouts with them, but it's just not like the most technical professional strike, when it's not meant to be used. So in training, I have beautiful straight right hands. When I switch, beautiful straight lefts. But man, when you have the 4-ounce glove on and then you see the guy, just that big bomb of a punch is what feels right. And I didn't practice him, but I threw him a lot. And man, this one was hard. He was moving back the whole fight, and it was hard to finish. It was hard to land flush when they're moving back so much. And then at the end of the first round, they were booing, and that broke my heart. So my game plan was to out kickbox, and we had so many high kicks and low kicks planned. But man, in the fight, it's such a vivid reminder how hard it can be to huck these kicks and actually hit him in the head without gassing or slipping or getting countered. So I just went back to some punches, and that's what worked. And then I felt in the second round his gas tank gave a little. That I could fight all day. I'll fight to the death. That'd be awesome. And so I ended up really pushing the pace and beating him there.
So you said the crowd kind of motivated you to keep going. How does that affect you when you hear that?
Man, I just the music I listen to, a band called Morono Martha, they sing about like the lifestyle of Vikings and like fighting to a glorious death, and back in the George St. Pierre era of UFC, they were looking for the world's best fighters, and they had found them. But now all of the world's best fighters are here, and the belts get handed off, so I don't have like championship aspirations or ranking aspirations. I want to be known as a guy who like goes to war and like has epic fights and crazy knockouts no one's seen before. And when the fight was at that pace, that just wasn't going to happen, and it really made me sad and made me push the pace. But there was some blood in the second and third round, so that was cool.
How about your elbow? I noticed when you came in the room, you've been holding it.
Yeah, so if you guys, if you've ever blocked a kick wrong, you've broke forearms. I had a kickboxing match for Legacy in 2015, broke a guy's arm in half with the kick, so blocking him properly is really important. And even with proper blocks, which I did, just that shin cracks your elbow. And I think I blocked like 8 or 9 of them, and my elbow's just sore. It's a fight, it's going to happen. Need some ice, but I'll ice it up later.
How tough was Montossery, though? I mean, you were going at him, flurrying.
Good God. He was hard to put away, but again, when guys are moving back, it can be hard to finish, and he's known for like I punch, he steps back, and he steps back in for the counter. And I didn't want to get countered. I know he hit me twice, but I remember walking through him. They hit me, but they didn't do much damage. But I just didn't want to get hit with anything stupid, especially at the end of the round. And man, in the third, I felt like I could have finished him, but man, I just tried and didn't get that finish. But he was super tough, super nice guy, and man, I wanted to beat him at his own game, but that's just hard to do.
Were you aware that he was the last guy to make weight?
Yeah, man. Yeah, in the sauna, he asked for a catch weight, and I was like, absolutely not. It's not what we do. I make weight easy too. I know I've been doing this for a long time. There's no way I'll ever bust weight or ask for a catch a day of. And I saw he was struggling, but I knew he'd come strong fight night. He's down to scrap.
He asked you in the sauna, hey, do you want to do this?
Yeah, 173, and I was like, no way, absolutely not. There's no way. Like, how do you explain that to UFC boss? Plus, I can make weight. It wasn't even an option.
So you kind of knew right then. You kind of had an advantage.
Yeah. Maybe he was breakable, but man, it's those little things. They don't mean that much in a fight. You'll really know fight time what's up. So.
How much weight do you cut? Because you don't seem like a big welterweight.
I'm not a big welterweight. So morning of, I woke up at 178, so I had to sweat 7 pounds out. And I'm a gross sweaty person, so I sweated out in about 50 minutes in the sauna. It was done. Felt great. Weighed in. Yeah, making 55 is too hard. It's too much. If there was a weight class for 65, that'd be perfect. But honestly, like Noak, probably the biggest welterweight out there. Those big dudes, they're slow, and if I didn't get hit by him much in that fight. So yeah, I don't mind being the smaller, quicker fighter. Plus, making weight's easy. There's some guys have like a weird idea to be the biggest you can possibly be, cut so much weight, and then they don't perform very well.
Yeah, I guess you're a big believer in that. You need to fight, I guess, closer to your walking weight. These big weight cuts, just don't work anymore.
And I'm just a dense person, man. I walk around around 185, and I know I'm not the leanest guy in the world, but when I was younger, I was a fat kid, lost a bunch of weight training, fell in love with the martial arts, and started fighting ever since. So I can hold weight really easy. So it's just something I've dealt with, but I've had a lot of success. I fought some big jacked guys and knocked them out, and so it doesn't matter.
Got any beefs with anybody you want to settle? Any
No, man, fighting in the UFC is the coolest thing ever. So anyone, the guy who just fought Kyle Noak, Omari Akhmedov, I believe his name, I thought that we had good matches. I would like to do that fight. He's a big, strong, scary guy too. I think that'd be a cool one to fight. But really anyone, man. Again, I'm not looking to climb up the rankings super fast like some guys are. I want to be like a veteran in the UFC. I want to have 20 fights by the time I retire. So I'm not looking to chase gold or do anything crazy. I want to be a comfortable employee for the UFC. Love the company.
And then jumping forward a couple weeks, who do you got in the UFC UFC 207 headliner between Rousey and Nunez, and why?
So the Rousey and John Jones fall in a similar boat. Amazing martial artists, have immense respect for their skill set. But socially, when you're a champion like that, I believe you have an obligation and a duty to be a good role model for those who can't be in the spotlight. And they're not, especially Rousey. I am not a fan of her attitude or like her mannerisms. So I'm really rooting for Nunez. I think she'll win too. So yeah, I believe people have a responsibility to be a good role model, and with all that power, they don't do it. It's just not good for our society.